Like, share, subscribe. Shouts out to the Lions Den community. And don't y'all forget to subscribe to the podcast show. Link will be pinned in the top of the chat.
Just name the channel who could bang with us. I'll prove that you are smoking dust. TV media is top notch in this game, y'all. You failures only have your self to blame, y'all. Cricket TV and a weapons make you suckers cry. Why don't you close your channel, crawl into a hole and die? Shout out to those who love our movement, no, we'll never flop until you get your mouth off LDBC. We are the underground outfit, y'all. We built this whole thing by ourselves, no in y'all. Independence start with self-preservation. If you can't take care of self, then how can you build a nation, y'all? Yup, we got that merch for the ladies and yes, we even got that merch for the babies and we got appliances and everything that you will need. We got some banging songs that make anemic haters bleed.
All right, you guys. So, like, share, subscribe. Salute to everybody that's tapped on in, man. And if y'all ain't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. You're going to see an all button. As soon as y'all hit the notification bell, hit that all button. That way you guys will get all the updates when I release content on this channel, man. And if you guys can hear me in the comment section, man, press 1. Let me get a mic check real quick. Make sure y'all can hear me loud and clear. And we're going to get on to the video. I got some breaking news for you guys as there was an explosive documentation that was just released by the government tonight after Diddy's lawyers came out crying foul. Now, shout out to Sue, shout out to Dragon, shout out to Dog Mom, shout out to Tusha, Daria, Kevin, Sheila, Lady, Neon, JCP, VIP, Inga, Randy, Nia, Trip, Tanya, Beautiful Spirit, Beverly, Kwee, Ned, The Wino, Sugar, Daniel, NBA, City. Salute to you, Queen. Salute to you, D Nice, and everybody else in the building. Salute to y'all. And shout out to the brother who sent me the $20 donation in the the PayPal. Salute to you, brother. I appreciate that donation, man. I forgot your name. I'm gonna shout your name out in the next video when I pull back up. But salute to you. And shout out to whoever sent me that 10 spot in the Cash App too. Salute to you. And another person sent a $15 donation to Cash App. Salute to you. But let me get right to it, man. So as you guys already know, Diddy's lawyer basically was out here crying foul, talking about, he wanted answers to why Diddy's, room was searched. Now, he put out this paperwork early this morning, and the government has clapped back in the same day and came with unbelievable documentation to basically show why they searched Diddy's searched Diddy's cell and searched, in general areas, right, of the jail. And this is unbelievable what's going on, bro. This stuff is all happening just like that in front of y'all face. So Diddy's legal, for you guys who didn't see the video this morning when I did the video, his legal team put out this document this morning and demanded to understand. His legal team admitted that this is the thing. Ain't nobody saying that the government don't have the evidence. Nobody's denying that, because the Diddy's lawyers know they got the evidence now. They admitted in this writing. So in this writing to the judge, to the new judge they have, and Diddy's supposed to have a bail hearing on Friday. But in this writing to the new judge, Diddy's lawyer wrote the judge this morning and said defense counsel has recently learned that the prosecutors are in possession of attorney-client privilege material, including the defendant's own written notes. This search and seizure are in violation of Mr. Combs' 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights. Well, Diddy's lawyers are goddamn liars, and the government proved why these guys are liars and full of shit. And we're going to talk about that tonight because Diddy's lawyers are manipulators, liars, and goalpost movers. And the government came out and slammed their ass, pardon me, B, tonight with their paperwork and their evidence to why they did what they did and exactly what the hell is going on. But it goes on to say, right, because they accused him of having his personal material, and the government smashed that out the park too. That lie too. So let's get right to it. It says, moreover, the targeted uh, seizure of pretrial, right? Pretrial detainees' work product and privileged materials created in preparation for the trial is outrageous government conduct, um, amounting to a substantive due process violation. Diddy's lawyers are lying all in this statement, but I'm going to show y'all how they lying tonight. It says, because the prosecutors are currently in possession of privileged material and are actively using this material to detain the defendant. It says the defense requests an immediate evidentiary hearing. It says this is an emergency matter because the government has Mr. Combs' privileged notes to his lawyers concerning defense witnesses and defense strategies. It says the government's opposition to defendant's bail motion states that the trial prosecutors are currently in possession of possibly privileged materials such as the notes recovered from the defendant's cell. It says, in fact, the government is in possession of written material that is absolutely privileged. It says, this is a matter of grave concern that most respectfully must be addressed immediately for the following reasons. Now it goes on to say, first, there is no dispute that the government is in possession of privileged material. It says, second, until receiving the government's submission at 11:29 p.m. on Friday, November the 15th, 2024, the defense had never been told that one, Mr. Combs' notes were taken from his cell. Two, that these notes were given to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and three, and these notes were then given to the trial prosecutors in this case, who then used this material in a filing to keep Mr. Combs detained. We request an immediate hearing at which the government shall provide answers to the following questions. First, who authorized a search of Mr. Combs' sleeping area, personal effects, and paperwork? Second, who determined what paperwork to take? And third, who decided to give this paperwork to the U.S. Attorney's Office? And they also asked 4 or 5 more questions too, but all the same, they just wanted to know how they legally got this information. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Tonight, I came to bring the pain. You understand what I'm saying? Outlaw to this game right here. And tonight, the government has dropped a bomb for Harlem. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, they in Brooklyn. So they dropped the bomb for Brooklyn tonight. Brooklyn. So they dropped the bomb tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And that paperwork y'all see on y'all screen, because y'all know when I come with paperwork. I don't come with fact talking, you know what I'm saying? False, fake innuendos and lies and guessing. I come with the actual facts. So as you see your screen right there, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, filed, clapback, instant from the government. The government writes the judge tonight, and they explain why they went into this Rudy Poo candy ass Diddy's personal effect, and what they actually did and what they actually took. And actually in this writing, they reveal, ladies and gentlemen, that they interviewed inmates and Diddy as well. Might be a snitch. Let's talk about it. So it says right here, dear judge, it says the government respectfully submits this letter in connection with Diddy's letter dated this morning. That letter I just wrote y'all, right? November the 18th, 2024. It says, and in response to the court's order issued earlier today, for the reasons that follow, the relief requested by the defendant, including an evidentiary hearing, are unnecessary. So for those who don't understand common English, they're saying that this bull job hearing that Diddy's lawyers are talking about are unnecessary, and they're going to tell you why. They go right to the background. On or about September the 26th, 2024, Diddy was arrested. Following day, the above referenced indictment was unsealed and Diddy was arraigned before the Honorable Robin F. Tarnowski. It says U.S. State's Magistrate Judge. It says, as part of that proceeding, the government moved for detention under the Bail Reform Act, finding that there was no condition or combination of conditions that would assure the safety of the community. Judge Tarnowski denied the defendant bail. The following day, the Honorable Andrew L. Carter heard the defendant's bail appeal, and after a lengthy hearing, determined that the government had proven by clear and convincing evidence, not lies, not cap, not innuendos, none of that shit, by clear and convincing evidence that the defendant was a danger to the community and a risk of obstruction. The defendant's communications. Hey, I'm about to show y'all this shit right now. I'm about to blow this shit out the water. It says, since being ordered detained, Diddy has been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, a Bureau of Prisons BOP facility. With respect to inmate communications, all BOP inmates, including Diddy, are afforded the opportunity to confer with attorneys or on unmonitored phone lines. Let me repeat that sentence again. With respect to inmate communications, all BOP inmates, Bureau of Prisons inmates, including Diddy, are afforded the opportunity to confer with attorneys on unmonitored phone lines. Other communications occur over BOP monitored phone lines and email as part of its general practice to screen monitored communications for content that could jeopardize, let's go to page 2, jeopardize, y'all can read it with me, the public or the safety, security, or orderly operation of the facility. See, and this is where they call out Diddy's lawyers capping ass with his capping ass. See the website, the jail, go, you can take your ass to the jail website. They put it up there. www.bop.gov/inmates/communications.jsp. If you want to know anybody about any of the rules, Diddy's lawyers, take your candy ass to the website. They got the jail website up there with all the goddamn rules on it. And that's all I got to say about that. Now let's keep going, ladies and gentlemen. It says that BOP staff, because you got to read it like this, because some people's hooked on finance and they don't understand when you talk pure English to them. So I'm going to talk in layman's term, real soft and real unsweet, baby. Believe that. BOP staff, including a particular BOP investigator known as Investigator 1, quote, has consistently monitored Diddy's communications on monitored communication channels, including monitored phone lines. This monitoring is independent. Independent, that means it's different, it's separate, it's by itself. I know some of y'all didn't go to school, so I'm gonna explain this to y'all. It's independent of the case team, i.e., assistant United States attorneys charged with the investigation and prosecution of the defendant, and is not done at its direction. Once again, let me say this to y'all again. They said that communications in their jails are not by the United States attorneys that are charged with this investigation and the prosecution of Diddy. This monitoring is independent of the case team. So it's outside of that, and it's done at its direction, right? It's not done at its direction. So it's not done at the direction of the U.S. State's Attorney's Office. So Diddy's lawyers are blowing smoke, but let's keep going. It says, as set out in the government's November the 15th, 2024 brief, and made clear on the record during the previous bail hearings, the government's grand jury investigation of the defendant, including Diddy's obstruction related to this criminal case, is continuing. As part of that investigation, the government has sent grand jury subpoenas and document requests to the BOP for the defendant's monitored communications, including calls and emails. From those materials, the government has learned that Diddy has persisted in engaging in obstructive conduct since he entered the Bureau of Prisons custody. Now, let me explain that to all you capping ass niggas that's in my comments and that's running your candy mouths. When you go to jail, anybody that's been locked up can tell you this. When you talk on that phone, your calls are being recorded. They had people monitoring Diddy's calls. This fool was still saying stuff on the lines he wasn't supposed to say. Not only that, he was using illegal forms of communication, using other people's lines to communicate. And to the person who said fall back, no, you fall back. You fall back. Matter of fact, let me block you off my channel. Fall out my channel. Straight like that. Nigga, no Diddy, nigga. Now let's get back to it. Among other things, the defendant has engaged in unauthorized communications practices, including one, this is the evidence right here on your goddamn screen right there. I put it on your screen so you can see it. 1, three-way calling on the monitored phone line. That's against jail rules. You can't three-way call. They're listening to this dude break the rules in front of them. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're not going to say anything at this point? No. They're going to let him build up his bull job, and then they're going to grand slam his ass like they're doing right now. So it says, among other things, the defendant has engaged in unauthorized communication practices, including 1, three-way calling on the monitored phone line. Diddy's us. Hey, this nigga Diddy don't care. You gonna do three-way calling on a monitored phone line? Nigga, you deserve to get locked up. 2, use of other inmates' phone access code or PAC numbers to make phone calls on the monitored phone line. This capping ass nigga was using other inmates' phone code to make calls, which is illegal. And they said he used 8 other inmates. And guess what, y'all? They interviewed the inmates. We're going to get to that in a second. Number 3, use of third-party text messaging. That's illegal. That's illegal. But Diddy's team is not denying this. They just want to know how the feds got this information, how the government got this information. Number 3, use of third-party text messaging provider through the BOP's monitored email system. Each of these methods of communications is prohibited by the BOP. So Diddy outright broke the rules in front of these people, and they were already monitoring him. He should have known that. He should have known that, right? So they were already monitoring this jackass, but he was so egotistical, he didn't care. He just kept doing what he was doing. Now let's keep going, right? Because this is what the ether is going to be, right? So let me ask y'all a question. What y'all think happened when they went and interviewed those inmates? Now, we're going to get to that in just a second. Furthermore, as set out in the government's November the 15th, 2024 brief, Diddy used these unauthorized methods of communications to continue to engage in obstruction, including by instructing third parties to reach out to witnesses and attempting to influence the jury pool in this criminal case. So Diddy, he got some big ones, because not only did he do this on monitored calls, they have the recordings. They have the recordings. What else are we talking about? If you're telling the truth, why do you need to be trying to convince witnesses and attempting people to influence the jury pool in the criminal case? Make it make sense. If you're innocent, why go through all these measures to incriminate yourself even further? It says that Diddy has used all three aforementioned methods of communications to communicate with his attorneys. Accordingly, although it is clear to all parties involved that these calls and emails are monitored. Let me read that again. So Diddy's lawyers are on cap talking about, hey, well, why did y'all go search him? Nigga, what you think they're going to do if they're listening to him obstruct justice on recorded calls? What you think they're going to do? Nigga, they going to go search your cell. What's wrong with these people? It's illiteracy going on in America. The defendant has used all three of the aforementioned methods of communications to communicate with his attorneys. Think about this. So they're saying Diddy's attorneys are dirty too, because Diddy's attorneys know that Diddy was using unauthorized message forms to message them, because they said not only was Diddy doing that, he also was having third-party calls with his lawyers, which is illegal. Now, why can't his lawyers lie and cap about that? Ask that question, because they got them niggas on tape, and they said that they passed that evidence over to Diddy's lawyers. So when Diddy's lawyers go to court on Friday, they will already have that evidence in their hand, and the judge is going to ask them candy-ass dudes, why in the blue hell did you guys break the jail rules and have third-party communications, which you know is illegal? They're going to ask them that. So when they slam the door on this Negro on Friday, y'all going to know why. Because Diddy broke the rules right in front of their face. They got evidence, and they gave the evidence to Diddy's legal team. Diddy's legal team just wants to know, why did y'all do this and not advise us? They don't have to advise you. Accordingly, it says, although it is clear to all parties involved that these calls and emails are monitored. So they said everybody that's involved, Diddy, his lawyers, the government, everybody knows, the jail, they all know that these calls and emails are monitored. So this is not nothing hidden. This is not nothing that's out the way. Ladies and gentlemen, when you go to jail, before you go to court, you sit down in your cell and you shut your goddamn mouth. You don't say nothing to nobody, nigga. If you don't want the government or nobody hearing your shit, you don't say it on the phone, nigga. I don't care if you're talking to your lawyers or not. You don't talk nothing. No shout on the phone, nigga. You show discipline, nigga, which this dude doesn't have. Because if he had discipline, he would have known good and well, don't beat Cassie ass on tape, on a camera, in a hotel. But he has no discipline. He shows no discipline. So therefore, you get cooked. Now let's keep going. It says, ladies and gentlemen, right? Accordingly, although it is clear to all parties involved that these calls and emails are monitored, in an abundance of caution, the government sent any privileged communication, i.e., any communication involving an attorney, which means involving Diddy's lawyer, to the filter team for review before it was released to the case team. They covered their ass, is what they're saying. Read this report. It says, in an abundance of caution, because they don't want to F the case up, the government sent any potentially privileged communication, i.e., any communication involving his attorney, to the filter team, which is what you have to legally do, right? To review before it was released to the case team, as is the government's long-standing practice and ongoing covert investigations, such as the investigation into Diddy's obstructive conduct in the MDC, Metropolitan Detention Center. The government did not disclose potentially privileged communications to the defense counsel in the first instance. Right? 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 So once again, they legally don't have to tell you that they're investigating Diddy in the jail. They don't have to tell his lawyer that they're investigating him. You find out after they don't crack his ass, which is what they just told you. It says, as is the government's long-standing practice in ongoing covert investigations, such as the investigation into the defendant's obstructive conduct in MDC, the government did not disclose potentially privileged communications to defense counsel in the first instance. Why? Because they didn't have to. They didn't have to because they legally went through the proper channels of giving the information to the filter team first before they reviewed it, and it was released to the case team to make sure that they didn't see any of the attorney client privilege information. As stated in the government's opposition to Diddy's bail motion, the government intends to produce all the defendants called. Let me read this line again, because this is for anybody who has any effing doubt that this nigga Diddy is the dumbest, and The Rock means dumbest Negro walking planet Earth. I'm going to read this to you right here. As stated in the government's opposition to the defendant's bail motion, the government intends to produce all the defendant's calls and emails in full to the defense counsel today. Diddy's ass is toast. So today, they gave Diddy's lawyers all those tapes and recordings. So Diddy's lawyers are probably shitting bricks as they're listening to this nigga on tape. Read that one more time. Let me read that line one more time for y'all. This for all these capping ass niggas. As stated in the government's opposition to the defendant, Diddy's bail motion, the government intends to produce all the defendant's calls and emails in full. In full. You got a whole thing. To the defense counsel today. Let's keep going. You can have whatever you like. Racks on deck, Patron on ice. Now let's keep going, y'all. Sweep of the MDC. It gets deeper than this, y'all. Listen to this, y'all. Sweep of the MDC. Y'all smash the like button as y'all come on into. We should have over 2,000 likes for this information I'm dropping to y'all. Because I could be watching the Bucks game, but I'm dropping this information to y'all first. Sweep of the MDC and or around. Look, they gave y'all the date. Look, y'all. Look, what's today, y'all? This shit happened weeks ago, and Diddy's lawyers knew. Now listen, y'all. In or around October the 28th, 2024. That's the last paragraph I'm on right here, y'all. Y'all see the last paragraph? October the 28th, 2024, the BOP and several other federal and local agencies initiated a sweep of the Metropolitan Detention Center. The sweep was pre-planned and coordinated to ensure the safety and security of staff and inmates at the Metropolitan Detention Center, and it was part of a larger safety and security initiative and not in response to any particular threat or intelligence. They also add evidence of that was priorly planned. See, this for all these capping ass niggas. See, and let's go to the next page. It's right here. See, and they gave you the website that proves when they was planning this sweep. Y'all, check this out, y'all. www.bopdagov/resources/202/41101-press-release.pdf. So if y'all want to see the paperwork, you can go right to the website yourself and look at the paperwork to show that they were doing and had already planned to do this jail-wide sweep. It's right there. Has the date on it right there too. 2024, 11/01. Read it and weep. That's the website right there. It's right there. Right there at the top of your screen. First sentence, right? It says the MDC sweep included the jail and the warehouse where MDC food and other property are stored. It was planned well in advance before Diddy's arrest. Let me repeat that sentence again for the dumb, deaf, and the goddamn blind. The Metropolitan Detention Center sweep included the jail and the warehouse where the Metropolitan Detention Center's food and other property are stored. Now listen to this line right here. One more time for y'all. It was planned well in advance of Diddy's arrest and was not conducted to target any particular inmate, including Diddy. Next paragraph. During the MDC sweep, multiple housing units were searched, including the defendant Diddy's unit. Although members of the case team were aware in advance that Diddy's housing unit would be searched, in addition to other areas of the jail, no one on the case team supervised, conducted, or participated in the search of any housing unit, nor the search of Diddy's bunk area. In fact, the case team was not aware in advance of what agents and officers were conducting the search of that housing area. Evidence. Investigator 1 was assigned by the BOP to participate in a week-long sweep and was present at the MDC during the operation. During the sweep of Diddy's housing unit, Investigator 1, listen to this now, because y'all want to find out how did they get all this information? Well, guess what, y'all? Listen, you do the math. Investigator 1 was assigned by the BOP to participate in the week-long sweep and was present at the MDC during the operation. Now, this next line is going to get y'all right here. Listen and use y'all minds. During the sweep of the defendant Diddy's housing unit, right? Investigator 1 interviewed multiple inmates, including Diddy. Let me read that line one more time for y'all. During the sweep of the defendant's housing unit, right? Investigator 1 interviewed multiple inmates, including Diddy, about potential corruption and contraband at the MDC. Now, y'all think about that. They interviewed multiple inmates. What you think happened? Let's keep going, right? Following, now listen to this next line, because this is why I bring y'all niggas facts, not just bullshit. Following Investigator 1's interview of Diddy, Investigator 1 approached Diddy's assigned bunk to check for contraband. So they interviewed Diddy first before they searched his bunk. Let me read that again. Following Investigator 1's interview of Diddy, Investigator 1 approached Diddy's assigned bunk to check for contraband. On the defendant's bunk, Investigator 1 found the following items. 1, a manila folder marked legal. 2, a notebook labeled, and they blacked that out for safety purposes. 3, an address book. And 4, personal effects. Investigator 1 felt outside the manila folder marked legal for contraband, and feeling none, set it aside and did not open or photograph it. With respect to the notebook labeled, and it blacks it out, and the address book, because he didn't put the names, they got to show safety here. In the address book, Investigator 1 took photos of those materials. Investigator 1 left the materials on Diddy's assigned bunk. No physical materials were seized from Diddy. Diddy's lawyers, some lying son of a bitches. Talking about, hey man, they seized the stuff. No, they didn't. They did not. They interviewed Diddy right before they searched his bunk, and they did not seize any of those things. Following the MDC sweep, Investigator 1 alerted the case team that he had taken photos of the Diddy's blank notebook and address book, the quote-unquote photographs. Investigator 1 described the blank notebook as largely notes to self, written by Diddy, that included notes regarding, blank that out for safety purposes. An abundance of caution, the case team asked Investigator 1 to provide the photographs directly to the filter team, given the possibility that they touched on legal strategy. So they went through the proper channels. Following the review, the filter team provided certain photographs to the case team, including photographs containing the redactions, meaning the things that's X'd out right there on y'all screen. Read that little paragraph right there at the bottom part of your screen. Number 1, the government's November the 15th, 2024 brief mistakenly described the MDC sweep as nationwide. This was an error. The sweep of MDC included BOP officers and agents from around the nation, but the sweep was focused on MDC facilities used by the MDC, e.g. the MDC warehouse. 2, for reference, the government is including exhibits, photographs, and the notebook labeled quote-unquote things to do, and the address book as Exhibit A, which contain redactions. Per the filter team review, this is a full set of the material from the BOP sweep that was provided to the case team. This exhibit is being filed under seal pursuant to the protective order governing discovery in this case. You know what that means? That means when they go to court, they're going to stomp on Diddy's ass. That's what this means right here. Let's keep going, because they got evidence on this nigga. The instant motion. Now look at this right here, y'all. The instant motion. They breaking this shit down for y'all. Y'all need to listen. On November the 8th, 2024, Diddy submitted a renewed motion for bail in front of your honor. In the government's response, filed on November the 15th, 2024, the government argued, among other things, that the court should deny Diddy's motion to reopen the bail hearing since he had failed to present any new or material information. In addition, the government argued that Diddy was actively continuing his efforts to obstruct justice while in custody, including, among other things, attempting to influence witness testimony. In support, the government cited excerpts of portions of the photographs that discussed Diddy paying a potential witness and blank on the other potential victims and witnesses. See how they mark that out blank right there? See how they mark that out? When they go to court and they unmark that, and y'all see what they say Diddy said. When you see those photographs of what Diddy said he wanted to do, oh my God, this fool gave him the case. Let me read that sentence again, y'all. In support, the government cited excerpts of portions of the photographs. So they took pictures of this, y'all. This wasn't just no cap. They took pictures of this shit. Photographs that discussed Diddy paying a potential witness and blank on the other potential victims and witnesses, which had been provided to the government after the review by the government's filter team. Both excerpts are consistent with other evidence discussed in the government's submission. On November the 18th, 2024, Defense Counsel submitted a motion to the court arguing that the government was in possession of attorney-client privilege material, namely portions of photographs which reflected the defendant's notes, which it argued were privileged notes to his lawyer concerning defense witnesses and defense strategies. The defense argued that the government had engaged in a targeted seizure of the defendant's materials, ID at 1, which it argued amounted to a violation of Diddy's constitutional rights. They're fucking liars. And they proved it because the government never seized any of those files. Diddy's lawyers are goddamn liars, and they proved it today. The defense therefore requested that the court hold a hearing to assess, among other things, who authorized a search of Mr. Combs' cell, determine which material should be seized, and provided the materials to the government. As discussed herein, there was no targeted seizure of Diddy in the BOP sweeping and resulting in a government obtaining photographs was not unconstitutional nor improper. Relevant law. In accordance with BOP policy, staff may search. Now, this is a quote. This is the policy of the jail. Now, I want y'all to listen to this. This is where it eats this Diddy's dumb ass lawyers. Right here, right? In accordance with BOP policy, quote, this is the jail policy, y'all. Staff may search an inmate's housing and work area and personal items contained within those areas without notice to or prior approval from the inmate and without the inmate's presence. You know what that means? That means they can go search your shit anytime they want, and they don't need your permission or your dusty ass lawyer's permission to do it. It's their jail. They can search that shit when they want to. BOP program statement 55214. This is consistent with the law, which states an inmate's reasonable expectation of privacy is extraordinarily circumscribed because his interest in privacy must be balanced against the interests of society and the security of its penal institutions. United States versus Gonzalez, 2000, WL 1721171, at 2, SDNY, November 17, 2000, quoting Hudson versus Palmer, 468 U.S. 517 527 1984. Now, although pretrial detainees like Diddy retain some Fourth Amendment protections, that does not mean that these rights are not subject to restrictions and limitations. See Bell versus Wolfish, 441 U.S. 520 545 1979. Indeed, even when a prison regulates impinges on inmates regulation impinges on inmates constitutional rights, the regulation is valid if it is reasonably related to legitimate penological interests. See Turner versus Safely, 482 U.S. 7889 1987. Accordingly, although pretrial detainees may have some residual privacy interests that are protected by the Fourth Amendment, courts must weigh those interests against the requirements of preservation of the institutional security and order. See United States versus Schulte, number 17, CR 548 PAC 2019, WL 5287994 at 2 and 1, citing U.S. versus Willoughby 860 F2D 1521 2D CR 1988. Next, when potentially privileged materials, this is slow cooking Diddy's lawyers for lying. When potentially privileged materials are obtained by the government, quote unquote, the use of a filter team is a common practice, right? Right? Use of a filter team is a common procedure, in this district and has been deemed adequate in numerous cases to protect attorney-client communications. Y'all see this? And it gives y'all all those examples right there. It goes on to say that the government established an effective firewall to prevent disclosures to the government's trial attorneys of trial strategies or confidential communications between the defendants and their attorneys. Right? Y'all see this, right? Y'all see this, right? I hope y'all see this right here, right? Y'all see this, right? It's definitely a wrap for this bum. Right? Right? Now look at this, y'all. Right? It said the government's review need only be reasonable, not perfect. Discussion. First, the fact that the photographs were taken was entirely proper. They were taken during a pre-planned sweep of MDC, which was organized, initiated, and executed by BOP staff with the assistance of multiple federal and local partners for the purpose of the safety and security of inmates and staff and to address persistent issues that have arisen at Metropolitan Detention Center, including issues that Diddy himself complains of. So remember all that shit Diddy was complaining about? They were complaining about the jail? Well, this is the reason why they had to sweep. Because of things like Diddy complained about. And they cooked his ass. Given this major law enforcement operation was planned well in advance of Diddy's arrest, right? Well in advance of Diddy's arrest, there can be no credible argument that the MDC sweep itself meant to target Diddy. And they proved when they planned that sweep. And that sweep was planned before Diddy got locked up. Let's keep going. Right? Right? At holding the evidence, right? Holding that evidence recovered during a search of a pretrial inmate's cell when it was initiated by prosecutors and not by prison officials for security reasons could be challenged for violation of the Fourth Amendment. Indeed, no member of the case team conducted or was present during the search and only learned about the photographs once the search was complete. In sum, there is no evidence to support Diddy's weak ass, and I added ass, suggestion that investigator one's taking photographs of Diddy's notes was a targeted seizure, end quote. Nor is there anything improper about investigator one taking the photographs. Investigator one, who had reviewed Diddy's calls and emails in which Diddy overtly and persistently engaged in conduct that violated the BOP rules and regulations, was entirely justified in inspecting Diddy's assigned bunk to recover additional evidence related to those violations and to ensure security of the BOP facility. You know what that means, y'all? That means that the evidence, the phone calls, the recordings, the emails, the text messages, everything that they got on Diddy, that they handed over to his dumbass lawyers today, was more than enough evidence and reasonable cause for them to search his jail anyways, his jail cell, his bunk, right? It says, moreover, investigator one, who is not even bound by any privilege doctrine that may affect the case team, took steps to respect the potential privilege of Diddy's personal effects. Investigator one specifically did not examine the manila folder labeled legal. Diddy's lawyers are liars. He confirmed his review of materials to the notebook labeled blank blank. Moreover, none of the steps taken by investigator one while he was searching the defendant's bunk were done at the case team's discretion or direction. Indeed, the case team was not aware at the time that investigator one was participating in a BOP sweep. Second, the government's use of a filter team to review the photographs in the first instance is entirely appropriate and adequately protected any potentially privileged documents, as is consistent with the practice in this district. The filter team's review segregated potentially privileged materials as evidenced in the redactions contained in the photographs. This approach is eminently reasonable. Here, the photographs related to the government's ongoing covert grand jury investigation. The government had no obligation to seek Diddy's legal counsel view of the privilege determinations made by the filter team, meaning they had no obligation legally to tell Diddy's sorry ass lawyers anything about that investigation. They didn't legally have to do anything. Finally, the photographs and what is depicted in them are not privileged. The Diddy does not argue, nor could he, that the notes in the paragraph and the photographs were prepared for the purpose of obtaining legal advice. This is it. That they killed Diddy right there. He's done. Let me read that line one more time where it says finally right there. Second paragraph to y'all. Second paragraph right there. Matter of fact, it's the third paragraph, but it's the first one's a slow mini one. Second one is kind of thick. And the third one, it says finally. Y'all see it right there. Finally, read that line right there, y'all. The photographs and what was depicted in them are not privileged. Diddy doesn't argue, nor could Diddy argue, that the notes in the paragraphs, or in the photographs, were prepared for the purpose of obtaining legal advice. So he can't even say, hey, man, y'all stole information I was using for my legal. Nope. Diddy can't even say that. It says, contrary to the defense counsel's mischaracterization, the photographs do not reflect notes to Diddy's lawyers concerning defense witnesses and defense strategies. Rather, the photographs depict Diddy's wide-ranging notes to himself, including notes related to his business interest, release of his music, family matters, among other things. Under the law, these sorts of notes are not protected by the work product doctrine. See Korea 468 F Sup 3D at 624. Even if there was a disclosure of privileged material to the case team, that alone is not a basis for the relief that the defendant seeks. Indeed, in order to be entitled to a hearing to determine whether the prosecution was tainted by exposure to privileged information, defendants have the burden of showing a factual relationship between privileged information and the prosecution, right? See U.S. versus Dupree 781. F Sup 2D 115163 EDNY 2011. The defendant has not done so here, particularly given the government's good faith use of a filter team. U.S. versus Sharma, number 18, CR 340 LGS 2019 WL 3802223 at number 5, or at, 5 SDNY. Read the bottom paragraph right here. The defendant, Diddy, appears to assert that the photographs are protected by both attorney-client and work product privileges. The attorney-client privilege protects communications, 1, between a client and his or her attorney, 2, that are intended to be and in fact were kept confidential, 3, for purpose of obtaining or providing legal advice. United States versus Mejia, 655 F 3D 126132 2D CIR 2 2011. Because the attorney-client privilege stands in derogation of the search for truth so essential to effective operation of any system of justice, it must be narrowly construed. The attorney work product doctrine provides qualified protection for materials prepared by or at the behest of counsel in anticipation of litigation for trial. It is well established that the work product privilege does not apply to documents that are prepared in the ordinary course of business that would have been created essentially similar from irrespective of the litigation. The party asserting either privilege bears the burden of establishing its applicability. August 13, 2019, denying a hearing where potentially privileged search warrants were inadvertently provided to a trial team. The conclusion: for the foregoing reasons, the government respectfully submits that an evidentiary hearing is not required or appropriate under the law. Respectfully, Damian Williams, United States Attorney. So basically, Diddy's dumbass don't know the law. He made a mistake because if you're going to write those notes about you making payments to Big Nose and doing other things, I want y'all to listen to this, right? You're supposed to put those notes in your legal folder. That way they can't search those folders. Dumbass Diddy put all those notes in another folder that did not say legal, which is why they were able to review it. And they took photographs, and you know they have video footage of the entire search. You know why? Because it's cameras in Diddy's dormitory that videotaped the search. So when Diddy's lawyers lie, the truth exposes them every time. Point blank, period. Diddy's lawyers lied again. And when they go to court on Friday, and those videotapes are played or audio tapes are played of Diddy, and they expose all the shit that nigga been saying to witnesses, they expose those letters that he wrote on his notes he wrote to how he paid Big Nose to make those statements. You ain't heard Big Nose say nothing else since this information came out. Big Nose don't shut the hell up. She quiet now. And she's shitting bricks. Because now she know that they know she got flipped. And they have evidence of that shit. Man, anybody that believe this nigga, he's desperate, y'all. So he's gonna do anything he can do. That's why he's using other niggas' phones and shit like. He desperate. He knows he's going for the long haul. That's why I told y'all. I think if they give him a plea deal, in the end, I think he's gonna take a plea deal. But they may not want to give Diddy a plea deal. They may take him for the whole meal. They may take him for the whole meal. And I don't think they're gonna give him a plea deal. Unless they got something that they can't resist. But then again, it all depends on what Diddy's thinking, how he's feeling. Now, because now he knows that they're recording him. Now he knows they got all his text messages. Now he knows they expose all of the shit he instructed his sons to do and his family members to do. He's screwed. And his lawyers are too. His lawyers never denied the evidence because they have the evidence. They never denied the evidence because they have the evidence. They're arguing, how did they do this search? And the government smacked these boys down. All the government did is show that this entire search of the jail was scheduled before Diddy's even came to the jail. And not only that, they already showed that they had probable cause to search this dude based off the evidence that they collected from his phone calls, his emails, and the text messages he was sending out. Obstructing justice, nigga. But Diddy's lawyers ain't never, ever, 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 ever deny those charges. Diddy's lawyers admitted that the government had that evidence. They just tried to lie and say they illegally obtained it when they didn't. So what Diddy's lawyers are practicing and doing is putting out lies, throwing anything at the wall, hoping that shit stick, and trying to convince some delusional niggas in the public that Diddy's being done wrong by putting out these false statements. And the government slapping a stupid ass down every day to common people who have common sense and critical thinking skills. Period. All you gotta do is read the paperwork. They've displayed the evidence and they're gonna display it in court. And they said they've already handed over Diddy's lawyers the evidence today. So what is Diddy's lawyers gonna say tomorrow when they hear that evidence and they hear themselves on tape illegally setting up third-party conversations that were being monitored? What are they going to say when they look tonight at all those emails that Diddy was sending to people and the things, text messages he was sending through the text messaging app? What are they going to say about that they look through that information tonight? What are Diddy's lawyers going to say tomorrow? They're going to have to answer to the evidence. They're looking at the evidence tonight. The government passed over Diddy's lawyers all the evidence today. So Diddy's lawyers are going to look at all that evidence tonight. And what are they going to say? What's going to be their lie tomorrow? What's going to be their next lie? Like, share, subscribe, man. Easy work, man. A caveman can do it, nigga. I'm gone.